Most cuisines come into being through a series of remarkable encounters and collisions of ingredients. These encounters are like human relationships. Some are meant to come together, some happen by chance but touch us deeply, and we wonder why others didn't happen earlier. Human activity brings the ingredients together, and that in turn influences the reunions and partings of people. The Chinese call it yuan fen, what is meant to be. August. Day has just dawned in the Chongqing grassland. Wu Liji drives his herd to pasture. The fertile land gives the cattle plenty of fodder. It also nurtures some precious fungi. Sun-dried mushrooms are rich in guanilic acid. The nomads use them as flavor enhancers when simmering chicken. He is a mushroom dealer. He often travels hundreds of kilometers to buy his mushrooms. Mushrooms grow in fairy rings. The patch of grass inside the fairy ring is greener because the mushrooms give off a substance that boosts the chlorophyll level in the grass. He is on his way to see Wu Liji. With him is his daughter, Yu Feng, 23, who has just graduated from university and returned home.
Mum's in poor health and needs looking after. Dad's in his 50s. Have you dried all the mushrooms you collected?
Yes.
This is it?
Yes.
Any white mushrooms?
No, only these oyster mushrooms.
White mushrooms are the most highly prized type of all. Sun-dried white mushrooms sell for more than 2,000 yuan a kilogram. So far this year, the harvest has been quite limited. The nomads have begun storing fodder for winter. The mushroom season is nearing its end. He and his daughter give it one more try.
The mushrooms are in season. They're nice and big. They're in high demand. There's none.
Fine, let's go.
Mushrooms shoot up with rain, but the autumn rain is late this year. He and Yu Feng don't give up. They decide to stay with the nomads and wait for a few more days.
It's raining.
The rain refreshes the grassland. Finally, white mushrooms sprout in the fairy rings.
Dad, look.
There's a ring over there. There's quite a lot.
Yes, let's get into it.
Father and daughter know that their hopes have finally come true.
It's getting dark and it's going to rain soon.
Let's go home. Oat noodles with mushrooms. Yes, the well-praised mushrooms.
Heading south for 400 kilometers brings us to Zhangjiakou, in ancient times a gate on the Great Wall. This trading hub in central China is where mushrooms became a famous popular food. White mushrooms are fleshy and fine textured. They're the choicest of all mushrooms. Soaking them in hot water for a couple of hours restores all their fleshiness. And leaves behind some fine mushroom stock. Put the mushrooms in fresh water and stir repeatedly, changing the water several times until every speck of dirt is gone. After a long journey from Jiangnan, some 2,000 kilometers away, bamboo shoots meet mushrooms. Slice the bamboo shoots and white mushrooms and boil them in broth, then stir-fry them over a low heat. As they soak up oil, the mushrooms become fleshy and silky in texture, while the bamboo shoots regain their crunchiness. Lastly, the mushroom stock is added. North-South stew, a chance encounter of mushrooms from the north with bamboo shoots from the south. This famous 300-year-old dish from the north is more than a gourmet meal. The distance its ingredients must cover also appeals to our imagination. The Dayang Mountains are the home of southwest China's most popular spice, Sichuan peppercorns. When eaten, this fruit of a native Chinese plant produces a stinging sensation on the tongue 50 times a second. The Chinese call this sensation ma, numbing. The Dalo Mountains. The Bizika people are experts at growing the best facing heaven chilies. These chilies can have as many as 500,000 Scoville heat units, which means they are so pungent that their active ingredient must be diluted 500,000 times to become undetectable. Chilies were imported from the Americas and quickly captured the taste buds of the Chinese. They now have a dominant role in Chinese cuisine. The two spices finally meet in the city of Chongqing. Hot as the days may be, the people of Chongqing are passionately drawn to something even hotter. Zhang Ping named his hot pot restaurant after his wife. The restaurant has given them a stable income and the means to provide for the next generation. At 10 p.m., the pungent aroma of chilies still lingers in the air. In the muggy hallway, Zhang begins preparing his next batch of spices. Chongqing chilies are mixed with the chilies of Henan. The former are blazing hot and the latter are flaring red. Together they give hot pots their bright colour. Cow oil can absorb the pungency of the chilies and the Sichuan peppercorns. It's one of Chongqing hot pot's secret weapons. Bean paste and fermented black beans act as thickeners. Chopped ginger gives the mix yet another dimension of pungency. The red chilies are intensely numbing, while the green peppercorns give off a strong aroma. But the most crucial factor is Zhang's exceptional skill. The heating releases the aroma fully, and constant stirring infuses it into the oil. Zhang's been doing this for 10 years. Overnight, he makes 3 large potfuls of hot pot soup base, enough to last for 5 days. Chongqing people also work their magic with other ingredients to create their superb hot pots. Pig and beef aortas are known as yellow throats. They have a membrane that spoils the taste. Workers wearing gloves to help them get a grip carefully peel the membrane off. A skilled worker processes up to 1,000 yellow throats a day. Beef tripe is made from the 3rd stomach of a cow. Chongqing people only use book tripes. Book tripes, when cut thinly and dipped in sauce, are overpowering in taste because they soak up a great deal of condiment. Once they are dipped in boiling water, their smooth texture and crunchiness can be addictive. Moreover, ordinary ingredients such as duck intestines, giblets, leather jacket fish and luncheon meat all come together in Chongqing hot pots to create amazing gourmet tastes. It is believed that hot pot, as we know it today, was introduced to the Han Chinese by nomads from the north. Hot pot has since taken many forms. The sliced lamb in Beijing-style scalded meat hot pot is paper-thin and tender. The mushrooms in Yunnan-style mushroom hot pot are sweet and aromatic. The meatballs in Teochew-style beef hot pot are succulent and chewy. Hot pots epitomize the longing of the Chinese for get-togethers and reunions. But nobody loves hot pots more than the people of Chongqing. Scattered across this mountainous city, there are over 20,000 hot pot restaurants. 1 in 30 people in Chongqing has a hot pot-related job. The encounter of Sichuan peppercorns and chilies is like a thunderclap for the taste buds, as well as a fusion of Asia and the Americas across the Pacific. The partnership of these 2 spices helps boost Chongqing's blazing summer, as well as a numbing and spicy hot pot culture across China. Food ingredients cross oceans before finally coming together in one place. Human migration brings even greater changes in cuisine. During a war in the early 12th century, a Sung emperor made Hangzhou his capital. The flavors of central China came to Hangzhou along with the imperial court. Westlake sweet and sour fish. A grass carp is split in half, with one of the halves cut again at the pelvic fin. The fish is cooked in boiling water. Then soy sauce and cooking wine are added. Next, sugar, wet starch and vinegar are mixed to make a thick topping sauce. It's a famous Hangzhou dish in the sweet and sour style. In the original Song capital, Kaifeng, there's another sweet and sour style. A carp is first deep fried. Then sugar, vinegar, chopped ginger, cooking wine and starch are added. To finish, the carp is topped with some dragon beard noodles. In central China, the sauce is also used as a dipping sauce for the noodles. The link between Kaifeng and Hangzhou is also seen in their dim sums. Kaifeng's soup dumplings have evolved over time into their current form. The dumplings are made with unleavened dough. During kneading, water and flour are added 3 times to make the pastry smooth, elastic and leak-proof. The dough is repeatedly banged against the bench to ensure its pliability. Water is added to the filling. In effect, the dumplings will be filled with soup, giving them a refreshing taste. In just a few seconds, the chef makes 18 folds, a skill it takes at least 5 years to master. Hangzhou's steamed buns mimic the culinary art of ancient Kaifeng. In their case, finely chopped pork skin jelly is mixed into the filling. When heated, the jelly becomes liquid, and that is the secret of steamed buns that overflow with juice and soup. Because of its dialect, Hangzhou is seen as a linguistic transplant from central China to south of the Yangtze River. As an example of this, linguists cite the noodle known as pian er chuan. This is an ordinary noodle restaurant in a quiet part of town. It has only 7 tables. It opens for only half the day, and it closes for a 2-month summer holiday every year. And yet it has a steady stream of customers. The locals still flock to buy its pian er chuan. Every day after the restaurant closes, Yan Baofu cleans everything.
Some people think I must be crazy, because nobody could keep doing it for decades, unless he was mad. I don't clean once a month, I do it once a day. I'm sure you don't see that too often.
Yan's insistence on the very best shines through in his choice of ingredients too. The restaurant comes alive at 5 o'clock every morning. Cured pork braised in lard gives the noodles their special aroma. To ensure an uninterrupted supply of the best bamboo shoots throughout the year, Yan travels regularly to suppliers on the outskirts of Hangzhou. He makes sure that the ratio of chopped snow cabbage, stems and leaves is just right. Bamboo shoots and snow cabbage are both from the south. They're a mix of white and green, a bit of sweetness and a bit of sourness. But the noodles, briefly scalded in boiling water, are a heritage from the north. However turbulent the history might have been, it always looks so simple when realized in cuisine. Kaifeng people are meticulous about preserving tradition. The newly built replicas of parts of the ancient city and the reenactments that take place in them are more than just tourist attractions. They are pillars of local pride. If the urban plan of old Kaifeng provided the backbone of its modern layout, Shanghai is the model for the city of today. Shanghai cuisine is as complex as the city's history and identity. It is exquisite, fashionable, full of urban vitality. Shanghai opened its doors to the world some 170 years ago. Western cultures and their cuisines flooded in. Shanghai became the symbol of modernity in China. The people of Shanghai have always been quick to try new food. Borscht and pork chops were both assimilated into Shanghainese cuisine.
2 meals with potato salad.
Zhou Yongle lived abroad for many years and sampled a variety of Western cuisines. But what he misses most is the Shanghainese-style Western food of his childhood. Hammering a pork chop with a mallet tenderizes the meat. Once tenderized, the pork chop is dipped in beaten egg and covered in flour 3 separate times. After the third dipping, it is covered in long breadcrumbs. This way, it doesn't soak up too much oil when deep fried. It's crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. Chili soy sauce is a must with Shanghai fried pork chop. Its mildly sweet, sour and pungent taste neutralizes any greasiness. This easily made sauce was originally a British import. A very similar condiment is found in Guangdong. Worcester sauce is a standard condiment for spring rolls and meatballs in Guangdong dim sums. Chinese soy sauce is a product of the art of fermentation. To begin the process, soybeans are washed, boiled and sprinkled with Aspergillus oryzae. They're spread on large bamboo trays to allow the moisture to evaporate. Finally, coarse salt is added and the beans are put in a sealed barrel. The barrels are left exposed to the elements for 6 months. After that, they contain top-quality soy sauce. Some Chinese visit Western restaurants on the Shanghai Bund to recall the glory days of old Shanghai. Others travel hundreds of kilometers to revisit what became their second hometowns. Dong Suihua was 16 years old in 1966. That was when she first boarded a train to China's west. Over 100,000 young people like her were sent from Shanghai to join the agricultural workforce in Xinjiang.
I went straight from school to Xinjiang. Xinjiang is where I spent the booming years of my youth.
Xinjiang is China's westernmost province, and it has the country's longest history of food migration. Ingredients and spices from around the world all met here. Hamiti's family is preparing lunch. Noodles are added to lightly stewed mutton. The combination is called mutton noodles. Sliced onions add the perfect finishing touch. The locals fell in love with onions when they were first introduced. They are affectionately known as yapizi. A plant first brought to China by overseas travelers has found its way here. This chili plantation is now the largest plantation in the Gobi Desert. Ingredients from different corners of the world are combined in this gourmet dish. Chicken, red and green capsicums, and potatoes are cut into pieces. Sugar is sautéed and the chicken pieces are added. Next come the iconic chilies from Sichuan cuisine and the potatoes popular in Gansu cuisine. This sauté then simmer style, unique to central China, mingles the flavours of the meat and the vegetables very well. The chicken broth and the starch from the potatoes fuse into a full-bodied stock. Lastly, Shanxi belt noodles go on top. The result, magnificent. Xinjiang's sautéed chicken, known as big plate chicken from the large plates it's served on, continues to morph to suit the tastes of migrant workers from all over China. Its big plates testify to a wonderful fusion of wisdom from every ethnicity. The modern city of Sheherze is just a few hours' drive from China's border with Kazakhstan. At the time of the Qin dynasty, it was just a small military settlement. But in the mid-20th century, millions of people came to develop it. From Shanghai, it's a 45-hour, 4,100-kilometer journey. It took the young Dong Cui-hua 4 days and 4 nights. In those best years of her life, she got to know sautéed chicken, baked buns, skewered meat, horse sausages, and Xinjiang noodles. The old gravel roads have been replaced with bitumen, and Dong's second hometown has changed dramatically. To a bystander, history is a story, but to one who experienced it, history can be a very personal, bittersweet journey. Back in Shanghai, Dong is cooking a meal for her friends from those days. Sautéed chicken is a must. A gourmet meal is an excuse for them to get together, to savour their memories of comradeship. The dish is the link between their two hometowns. During the ups and downs in life, Chinese people use food to narrow the distance between themselves and their hometowns. When Chiang Kai-shek's Kuomintang retreated to Taiwan in 1949, its veterans and their families were resettled there. Foods from every part of the mainland can still be found in the Nanmen market. Tofu sausage from Sichuan, Jinhua ham from Zhejiang, osmanthus cake from Shanghai. The rapid integration of peoples makes culinary innovation possible. Against this backdrop, beef noodle soup came into being in the veterans' villages. It uses gravy beef, which is rich in collagen because of the tendons in it. The meat becomes chewy when stewed. Ginger and spring onions are stir-fried. Fermented black beans and soybean paste are added. The mixture is then poured into some beef bone stock to make the soup base. The beef is cut into large chunks and simmered to soak up the flavours of the condiments. The noodles are cooked in boiling water only briefly to keep them elastic. In Taiwan, beef noodle soup is often called Sichuan-style beef noodle soup. suggesting a link to Sichuan, the land of abundance. The Shanghai salt well is the only traditional salt well and salt mill left in Sichuan's Chongqing city. The wooden derrick is a unique feature of the well. Chongqing has the longest history of beef cuisine in Sichuan. Bulls were the main source of power there before the advent of electricity and modern machinery. Salt has been produced in Chongqing for 2,000 years. Brine is pumped up from 1,000 meters below the ground, then carried to the stove room. Chinese expertise in processing soybeans comes in handy here. The brine contains a lot of impurities. When soy milk is poured in, the calcium ions in the brine combine with the proteins in the soy milk and form solids that can be skimmed off. This is repeated several times. Now it's a matter of time. White crystals begin to form. As the distilling process goes on, the water evaporates, leaving behind pure salt. The workers' Sichuan braised beef is very similar to the braised beef of Taiwan. It uses soybean paste, dried chilies and fried Sichuan pepper. Pre-cooked beef and radish are added. Then it's simmered on a low heat. And of course, you need a pinch of salt. The fruit of their labours brings out the full flavour of the beef and the radish. Salt is the foundation of Sichuan cuisine. Braised beef is a traditional dish for the salt workers, but it goes best with steamed rice. There's no record in Chongqing cuisine of a braised beef noodle soup. A more accepted explanation of the origin of Taiwan's beef noodle soup is that some Sichuan veterans there continued to refine beef noodle soup and finally developed its unique Taiwanese variety. Hao Zheyu moved from Taiwan to Chongqing. He has returned to visit the veterans' village he grew up in. He has already been back many times. His sister, Hao Shu-fen, owns a beef noodle soup restaurant. In his luggage, he has ingredients for her secret soup recipe. Hao's father comes to greet his son. A native of Sichuan who left his home at an early age, he's now an elderly man. Sichuan pepper is one of the spices that Hao has brought for his sister.
How is it?
It's pungent.
You're back.
Hi, Dad.
It's great to have you back. You've brought so much stuff.
Shufen asked me to bring these back.
Every veteran's village has its own style of beef noodle soup. The spices are for 100-gram noodles, which his sister invented. It's not hard to make chili oil, but the key to making good quality hot and spicy chili oil is to use authentic ingredients. Chili oil can instantly spice up the blandest noodles. For the Chinese, spices are a metaphor for human life. Particular flavors are bound up with the longing for home. The flavors of the veterans' villages are the flavors of a generation that has grown old in Taiwan. Today, the boundary between the veterans' hometowns and their homes in Taiwan is fading away. Zhang Shezhong, a retired sea captain, lives in Shepu, a seaport on the coast of Zhejiang province. Beneath his seemingly ordinary life lies a story few others know. He has a wish. He wants to pay a visit to Taiwan this year. On this side of the Taiwan Strait, Zhang is a father and husband. But on the Taiwan side, he's a son and a brother, and he's known by his name from the old days, Xu Lang Xiu.
Dear brother Lang Xiu, firstly, please pardon me for not having replied sooner. This is your brother, your sister, and her husband.
Mussels are a common local seafood. To preserve their unique flavor, they are chopped and lightly stir-fried with loofahs. Mytilidae, as mussels, are fleshy and tender in texture. They're found in oceans around the world and are a popular ingredient in various cuisines. Mussels are popular in French cuisine. Spices bring out their full aroma, and wine helps to neutralize the fishy smell. The most common way to cook mussels is to boil them in water. This retains their freshness. If absolutely necessary, a little soy sauce may be added.
Do you mean the English letter E?
Zhang's brother-in-law has rung from Taiwan to confirm the itinerary for his trip. At 76, a long trip is no easy task. Zhang's brother-in-law is Kui.
This is my wife and my grandchildren. This was taken over 20 years ago.
Since his wife passed away, he's lived a quiet life on his own. He's looking forward to meeting his brother-in-law. Fugang village is also known as Little Shepu because many of the villagers were Shepu fishermen who withdrew to Taiwan with the Kuomintang army. This is Yushan Island, where his family boarded the ship for Taiwan. When they left, Zhang was at school in Shepu. What was to have been a brief separation lasted for decades. Since the island lies at the meeting point of the northern and southern oceanic currents, it has abundant seafood. The rocks are covered in mussels. For Zhang, collecting the mussels isn't as easy as it once was. In any case, the choicest mussels are found underwater. Collecting mussels underwater requires teamwork. One man dives to collect the mussels, while the other steers the boat. Mussels use their beards or byssal threads to fix themselves to submerged rocks. The diver has to prise them off. The young men return to the shore, bearing the old man's treat. Fresh mussels have to be prepared at once. They are boiled until they open up, allowing the flesh to be extracted. The inedible beards are removed. The closed season for fishing in the East China Sea runs from June to September. The sun of the seaside town is ideal for drying the mussels. The day of Zhang's departure for Taiwan has arrived. The mussels, known locally as dun cai, have been thoroughly sun-dried.
I almost didn't see you there.
Come to my place first. We'll go over to see her in a while. She's got your accommodation sorted out.
These are anchovies from Yushen Island, and these are mussels.
The two old men give thanks to their ancestors and the goddess Ru Yi for making their reunion possible. Zhang's sister-in-law is preparing dinner. Besides the usual seafood, she's making stewed pork trotters with daylilies. This was Zhang's sister's special dish. Sharing a meal with loved ones is the most basic wish of the Chinese people. Yet for some, it has taken over half a century for this wish to come true. Daylilies are in season in Taiwan. Appropriately enough, their nickname is Wang Yu Cao, forget-me-not.
We have some visitors. How have you been?
The mushroom harvest has brought Hefuzhe rich rewards. Yan Baofu and his family have stolen a quiet moment to make themselves a gourmet meal. It's time for Zhang Shezhong to say goodbye to his relatives in Taiwan. He doesn't know when they might meet again. East and west, south of the Yangtze and north of the Great Wall, human migration is a catalyst for the fusion of ingredients. The encounters of these ingredients and their foods mirror those of man. But whether it's man that changes food or food that changes man is a question that only the dish on the table and the taste on the tongue can answer. As we take the next bite of China. Having 3 meals a day is a universal eating pattern around the world. It has sparked a variety of lifestyles and dining philosophies throughout China. Today, the unbelievable variety of food available coexists with an unprecedented reduction of resources around the globe. How should the Chinese make their choice?